Not so long ago, Paris Saint-Germain has resumed their journey into the Champions League playoffs, and in the round of 16 they faced one of the favorites of the current competition, Bayern Munich. And despite the fact that the Parisians had almost all their key star players, they still showed a controversial game and were defeated with a score of 0-1. Play like that is inexcusable for the club that has such a massive attacking lineup in the face of Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi. Each and every season, fans and experts have plenty of responsible questions to PSG. Paris Saint-Germain's best result in the Champions League is reaching the final of the tournament in 2020, where they lost to Bayern Munich. And we all remember that the 2020 marked itself with the coronavirus pandemic, and the tournament was played in an accelerated format after a long break. And it was hard to call it the real Champions League. And we should not forget that the opponents on the way of the Parisians in that draw were far from the strongest. In the round of 16, they faced Borussia Dortmund, but beat it with difficulty. Then they won against the Atalanta and Leipzig. Let's finally figure out why the Paris regularly loses in the European competitions in spite of the lavish funding. So here are 7 reasons why PSG fails. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a 4-word comment. Here we go. Reason number 1. No competition in the league. Ligue 1 is justly considered to be the weakest among the top leagues. The teams playing there are quite weak, and only a few of Ligue 1's top teams can even reach the mid-levels of the English Premier League. And as you know, competition is essential in football because high competition gives players a motivation, and a team obtains irreplaceable experience with every challenging match. In this respect, football is easy to compare to the muscles of man, so if one stops putting stress on your muscles, they atrophy. Football in this respect, in some degree, can be compared to human muscles. When you stop putting strain to your muscles, they atrophy. And you can't lift a 120-kilogram bar once a year without regular exercise. But that's exactly what the Parisians try to do every year in the Champions League. It's one of those reasons that doesn't depend directly on PSG, but it's a pretty significant one. Anyway, the Parisians themselves can make a contribution to offset this problem. You must be wondering, so how? First and foremost, they simply need to eradicate things that I will describe a bit later. These things can have a serious impact and then attract a lot of interest from the young French, and finally lead to an improvement in the quality of French football, which would have a massive impact on Ligue 1. Reason number 2. Poor team management. PSG is a real money bag with enormous possibilities, but the money in that bag is being spent in a completely wrong way. Many times PSG management have been seen to simply ignore the star players who no longer want to defend the club's emblem and want to leave. That happened with Verratti, with Neymar and Mbappe. But think about it, what it does to the players' mood. Undoubtedly, this has a negative impact on their individual performance and respectively on the team result, which the club management is desperate for right now. It's that hunger for quick results that has ruined many clubs and is ruining PSG at the moment. They have absolutely no thought for the future and have no patience, while other teams are building incredible long-term strategies in the meantime. And the Parisians apparently still find it easier to spend a lot of money and get an imaginary quick result than to invest their resources in the long-term run. As long as the club does not change in this respect, we are likely to see a gradual decline of the team until it finally collapses. Reason number 3. Inflated egos. The Paris club is a real collection of established and mature stars, some of whom have already achieved everything they wanted and are now only chasing their own ambitions and goals. This undoubtedly has a negative consequence. It's not a good thing when players on the same team have different goals and players have no desire to work for the mutual result and sometimes make compromises. It affects the team morale in the locker room, and that's exactly what's going on inside PSG. This is demonstrated by the players' constant conflicts. These conflicts regularly circulate in the media and put more pressure on the team. And the main stars of Paris Saint-Germain are from the same role. They are attacking players, and no matter what they say, everyone wants to pull the blanket over themselves at least a little. Reason number 4. No youth development orientation. PSG has absolutely no desire to develop young and promising players. They want results here and now. And this has been the case for years. It seems easier to buy a world-class star who is likely to bring the club to the long-awaited Champions League trophy. But that doesn't work like that. We have seen time and time again when a high-caliber player moves to another team, he sometimes fails to maintain the same level. The prime and most striking example is Cristiano Ronaldo, who showed the incomparable level of play after joining Juventus, not even close to what he showed at Real Madrid. PSG needs to find their inspiration from other teams who also have lots of money but are more successful at the same time. Let's take Manchester City as an example. The citizens had enough money to buy perhaps every striker in the world, but they made a choice on young Haaland, who is currently shining for the Manchester City team. Maybe if the Parisians think about it and start signing young but talented players, the direction of their development will change drastically, and in a couple of years, we will see a completely different team. Reason number 5, coaching problems. PSG changes their head coach quite often. Each time, there are many reasons for this. One of them is the lack of respect from some players for the coach. On this ground, there are regular conflicts inside the team which lead to the destabilization of the training and playing process. This has been the case with every recent PSG coach. Emery, for example, had a public conflict with Brazilian player Thiago Silva. We didn't often agree with each other. He was the commander. Well, he was paid for that, so I respected his authority. But in the first leg against Real Madrid, he left me on the bench because he needed a left-footed central defender. This is the first time I've spoken about that, but at the time it was hard to digest. He left Di Maria on the bench too. We lost 3-1. In the second leg, he no longer needed a left-footed central defender. He put me in the starting lineup. It's the kind of thing a player doesn't understand. And this is just one example among many with Emery, Silva told France Football. And that happens with the Parisians on a regular basis. And when you consider the character of guys like Neymar and Mbappe, it's safe to assume that there are a lot of things going on between them and the team's coaches that we don't know about. A team like this needs not only a proficient but also a well-respected coach with authority on the whole team. He should be able to put certain players in their place and regularly monitor climate in the locker room. And Christophe Galtier, the team's current coach, is unlikely to be able to do that. After all, before PSG, he didn't coach any real top team, and he certainly doesn't have the coaching authority. Parisians are likely to have a new coach very soon, therefore. Hopefully, they won't make a mistake this time. Also, management and players of the team just need to be prepared to work fruitfully under the guidance of any coach. Rebuilding the team can sometimes take more than one season. And if players get discouraged after every defeat, the team's goals may never be reached. I left PSG for not winning the Champions League. Guardiola should have already been sacked 7 or 8 times, Pochettino said with a laugh in an interview with AS. Zinedine Zidane may become the new coach of the Parisians. PSG star Kylian Mbappe has reportedly notified the team management that he stays with the club if Zinedine Zidane runs it. Spanish journal El Nacional reports that when signing the new deal, club superiors promised Kylian that he would become the club star. And this is essential for Mbappe. After all, if we are being honest, Kylian does not really like Messi's presence in the team. Parisians hope to find a coach who can finally take control of their players. And whether it's Zidane, we will probably find out soon. Number 6. Players' careless attitude to the game, especially Neymar. There are players in the Parisian lineup who believe that they don't need to train much. Neymar is one of these and probably the main offender of discipline. This is what RMC Sport Paris journalist Daniel Riolo said about him last year. Neymar hardly trains anymore. He arrives in a deplorable condition, almost drunk. That's right, Neymar is filled with feelings of revenge towards PSG. There is a total disconnect between the club and the locker room. PSG fans don't care about Neymar's tricks, and in the documentary about him on Netflix, we should sign a check and let him go. He's doing a lot of damage to the club. Let him go. He's ruining PSG. PSG no longer exists as a club. There is no longer any common thread. The coach no longer exists. The president has not said a word. After such a disaster, it would have been well worth to speak out harshly. Nothing. Nor Leonardo, nor Nasser El-Khelaifi, total defeat. Also, judging from numerous videos, PSG players mostly prefer to play tech ball instead of hard training and tactics, for example. It may be a nitpick, but it's a valid point. It seems that the Parisians regularly lack just a little to win, and these are the very things that prevent them from achieving results they are expected to achieve. Reason number 7. PSG has no spirit. You may be surprised to hear a statement like this and find it highly subjective. But think for yourselves. PSG regularly miss out on something. We've already discussed that there are a lot of factors that contribute to poor results in European competitions. And the lack of spirit in the entire team is also one of those reasons. Players do not always perform at their best, and this is often seen in the Parisian games. Some are no longer hungry for trophies while others have given up on their careers. Former Milan player Clarence Seedorf says, "In my opinion, Manchester City, just like PSG, have no temper to be successful in matches at level like this." Moreover, the Parisians regularly slacken and give away things that simply cannot be given away. That's exactly what happened in the 16-17 Champions League round of 16. In the first leg, PSG simply demolished Barcelona 4-0. It seemed almost a 100% chance of making it to the next stage, but these guys managed to lose the return match with a devastating score of 6-1 and leave the tournament. Season 18-19, round of 16 again. PSG beats Manchester United 2-0, and it would seem that promotion to the quarterfinals is in the bag. But no, they lose 3-1 in the return leg and get knocked out again. Season 21-22, another bloody round 16. PSG wins 2-0 on the aggregate with a half hour to go. And the unbelievable happens. They manage to concede 3 goals from Benzema in the 17th minute. How? It's just a real round of 16 phobia and an indicator that PSG really doesn't have any spirit. The combination of all these factors gives the Parisians what they have. Here, we have analyzed 7 reasons for PSG's regular failures in the European competitions. PSG was once prospective and could potentially become the biggest and most powerful club in Europe, but sadly, Parisians not even close to that yet. Hopefully, they will gradually start to work on changing almost all of the club's politics, and eventually we will see them at the top. But for now, all they have to do is work hard and believe in results.